Hello, my name is Mickey Mangun, and
I'm Blake Tullos.
we're from 7 Recovery in Alexandria, Louisiana, and the Pentecostals of Alexandria are our sponsors. And we are so happy to be spending a few minutes with you today, this month of September, which actually this month of September is National Recovery Month. And so I think it's pretty vital that we have something to say and that we give recognition to Recovery Month. So somebody was keen on having us say something in the month of September. Somebody. Thank you, whoever that somebody is. And thanks to all of you who are interested in this, because recovery ministry is not just necessary and relevant for all of us to either be a part of it or to even recognize it only in September. It's vital every day of our lives, 24/7. And if you are a family member or a recovering addict, you can testify of that very same thing. So we live it, we breathe it, we love it. And so it's pretty easy for us to be able to talk about how to develop an effective recovery ministry, not because we know the answers, but because we do live it and breathe it and we love it. And this is going to be just a short video, honestly, because we have done so many things. We've tried things. We've attempted to do things better. We have failed thousands of times already. And so we are still in the process of developing an effective recovery ministry. And I don't think that really ever we will get to that place of feeling really satisfied. I certainly hope we don't, Blake. But I am thankful that we have the desire, and most assuredly, to begin with, to have an effective ministry of any sort, and certainly of this sort, is to have the desire to love it and to give yourself away to it. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that 100%. Recovery is not... It's not a cookie cutter ministry that can be duplicated by just repeating what you see someone else do. Recovery is discipleship. Recovery is absolutely a way of life that is practicing the teachings of Jesus Christ, that allows the broken to be healed and those who have been bound to walk in freedom. So it's not a curriculum that you can teach. It's not something that you can impart to somebody else. Recovery is a way of life that must be undertaken and experienced. And you can't effectively give away something you don't have. So it's not just for the hurting and the broken in our communities. It's for each and every one of us. It will absolutely improve anyone's walk with Christ, practicing the principles that set me free from the addiction that I was in.
Well, Blake, we started this in 2008, and how it even came to pass is a God story like no other, because I did not seemingly have the same tendencies as what I see most people that come into our rooms right now, that's what their struggles are. I didn't have that. But in so learning about a process of recovery, I found out how deeply I was addicted to many things, whether they were pains or problems of past or brokenness, hurts. I identified with the very same kind of teaching that is going forth from our rooms now and is being effective, I should say, by working a process. And that is something that we believe in very, very much. Absolutely. In how to develop an effective recovery ministry is to realize that there has to be a process. We can talk a long time about here's delivery and here's a process. I tend to believe that even in the delivery, the miraculous delivery, that there has to be, even then, a process of getting better. I mean, it's what I just echo what you just said. discipleship. Do you ever stop? Do you? No. So in speaking of furthering an effective ministry, I don't think that's any different than even how you start an effective ministry. And you start it completely at a place where that your desire is of such that you can't breathe or eat or talk about it without being full of emotion, which is exactly what happened to me, even though I knew nothing about it. It got a hold of me, and God gave me something to get a hold of after it got a hold of me. And so me not being of that particular world or that lifestyle at all, where the addictions were so obvious, yet, like I say, I realized I had them down deep. I wasn't a part of it to be able to say that there even needed to be a ministry until I saw in a certain room at a certain time an effective process going on for my nephew. And I looked around the room and I thought, oh my God, have mercy. These people have answers. And I don't even know what the questions are right now, but these people have answers. And look at the effects of this incredible place and how that people show up constantly. And so I take that, become burdened with it and thinking, oh my goodness, you put God in the big middle of this that works so beautifully. And what a marriage made in heaven, you know? So I take it, first of all, to the good Lord, and then I take it to my husband, who happens to be the angel of the church, who happens to be the pastor. And so I think that in these few short minutes that we have to be able to share with everyone, which in time, at the end of this, we can point them to another place where that they can get a more hands-on approach to what we've worked through. But I feel like some of the basic things is to make sure that we have the heart of the pastor that links up to our hearts, I guess is the best way to say it. And I don't think it can be just an interest. I don't think you can go and the pastor just say to you, yeah, I've been interested in that. Because I don't think if you don't have a heart for it that you are going to be able to see, because this gets down into the nitty-gritty ugliness of sin and life and degradation. And so I feel that it's important that we make contact with a pastor, our pastor, who has a heart, which most of them do. I mean, they're in there to win the lost, you know, and to help those that are outside the fold as much as those that are in the safety of the fold. So I believe that is first and foremost. And what would we even say to those who maybe don't have a pastor, you know, that still have the desire and so on? What would you say to that? Because I feel like you agree with me.
Absolutely. The thing that I would say is it's no different than when we tell people that if you don't yet have a burden for souls, pray for a burden for souls, because God's got one to give you.
Good.
So I promise, as much as God's got a burden for souls to give to anybody that's looking for something to do, He's got a burden for people that are bound that He can give, that He's waiting to give to those that are willing, those that ever get to the point that say, okay, here I am, use me however you want to. The thing that I love most, and it's hard for me to say that, but I think the thing that I love most about this particular type of ministry is those who are bound and broken are sent to rescue those who are bound and broken.
True. So true.
And so when we ask for a burden, we need to be ready to be confronted with it, because God's going to give you something. God gave me something and gave you something that you could give to pass on to somebody else. The thing about recovery ministry is a mere interest will not keep you when somebody is ODing, and you have to deal with that. A mere interest is not going to keep you when the people that you're trying to help are stabbing you in the back or trying to rob you. Or a mere interest is not going to keep you through those things. It has to be a burden. It has to be a God calling. It has to be Spirit-led. It's not something that can just be replicated. It has to be from the throne. It has to be empowered by God. It can't just be a good idea. It's got to be a God calling.
Absolutely so. And you know what? We take this everywhere we go, don't
Yes.
we? And it's like all of the 1, 2, 3 or the ABC of it. We've got something that we can give to others, or to anyone that's interested about the statement of purpose and the vision of it and so on. We've got what we know since 2008, be it as long and as bad and as good as it's been all these years of trying to get it better and perfected. But what we know that we can't do is what you just said. If you don't have the passion and the burden. And how do you keep a passion and a burden? It's through prayer.
Sure.
It's through prayer. And this is what signifies that to us. Anytime that we ever went anywhere, we knew that there was a prayer covering going on. And this is the symbol of our prayer covering that's going on back at home for us, as well as a reminder that we can't keep that desire and that passion without there being an alive presence of God's Spirit guiding us through these moments of what you just said, the OD'd moments where that I have been a part of several of those where it's so heart-wrenching that you forget all of that. You forget these things, the how to develop, what do I do in this moment? No, that's not going to help you then. If you cannot get your hands and put them on the opened wounds of people and feel that you're going to, that it's not going to make you dirty or it's not going to disease you, that's when you know you've got the passion and the will to be able to do it. And this is a reminder that we've got to stay on our knees, which is a huge thing in how to develop an effective ministry.
Absolutely. Experience is going to trump information whenever the rubber hits the road. And we can give you information, and we're going to. We're gonna give you everything that we can possibly give you, and there's going to be a QR code that you're going to be able to scan. That's going to take you to a landing page that contains a faith-based recovery meeting starter kit. A book about the start and the first 10 years of 7 recovery, the 7 curriculum outline with recovery principles, recovery steps, songs, and personal experiences that relate to each of those, all in an outline. There will be videos from our previous symposium this year, the week of Because of the Times, and links to podcasts and videos on various recovery topics. And so if what you're needing from us is information, then please scan that QR code that's going to appear on your screen. But what we can share with you our experience. But what you need, what develops an effective recovery ministry is your own experience.
That's what's important here.
Your own experience, following the Spirit of God, creating a safe place for people who don't feel worthy to walk into our doors on Sunday morning to come and experience an atmosphere of acceptance and the love and the power and the mercy and grace of God in a real way that's not available to them in anywhere that they're searching currently. I'll never forget the first 7 meeting that I ever went to when I saw that person that I had judged and thrown away that God had cleaned up and was using. I didn't even know what the Holy Ghost in my life was at that moment, but that was the first time that I ever felt it, and God spoke to me. And he reminded me of a time that I asked him for everything that he had for me, and he said, "This is what you asked me for." And that's the kind of thing that sets the addict free. We know that the church has what the bound need to be free. We realize that, but where we struggle is in how to connect them to it. And so in recovery ministry, we create an atmosphere where the Spirit of God is free to move, and people who normally wouldn't feel comfortable around us get an opportunity to come in contact with Jesus Christ, and lives are changed.
You sound like an evangelist, which that's exactly what you are, right? So we need to let everybody know that's listening to this that this is evangelist Blake Tullos, who is an amazing man, and has got a very fruitful ministry, as well as a great business here in Alexandria, Louisiana. So, I mean, but his heartbeat is that of an evangelist, and to tell the world about this. And I thank God for bringing him into our lives, because he's made us stretch, and you've taught us a lot. So thank you for so many hours and hours of your time and Naomi's time. His wife is Naomi, and they're a great couple that God has chosen to raise up in this time. This is I think if we would end anything, find a place to end, it would be along this line. If someone is interested in beginning, I would admonish anybody out there to be able to take the principles, the resources, and to learn from them, but not to try to mimic anyone else's ministry. Every geographical location is different. Yes. Every heartbeat of every church is different. Every personality of every church is different. We are a part of the POA. They do sponsor us, but we are a separate entity. Our leadership looks a little different. We respond a little differently to situations because of the nature of our calling and the nature of what our ministry is. So it doesn't look the same, but possibly that's not how it's going to look wherever you are from.
Right.
So you had said something a little earlier about not here, I don't believe, but with me. You said something about how we need to make sure that this is not something that we're just grabbing a hold of because it seems to be talked about a whole lot here lately.
Right. Much in the same way that I would advise somebody that feels called to ministry to be certain that they're called to pastor, because I see what pastors go through, and I know that you got to be called and equipped and anointed for that. I would very much admonish people in the same way to be absolutely sure that this is your God calling, because in the same way that I've seen men torn to shreds by attempting to operate in a gifting that God never had for them. Recovery ministry will break you down. It's not something that we're going to be able to pick up and run with because it's a trend. But I do feel confident that it's such a powerful move of God's Spirit in this time that even if it's not your God calling, even if right now it's only an interest, it might be your call to prayer. I believe that it's needed. I've seen that it's needed in every single place that I've been sent to minister. And so even if what you have right now is an interest and you're not certain of that burden, then please let that be your call to prayer, that God would send whoever it is that He has called for your area, for that ministry in this hour.
And at the same time, how we individualize our prayers, Blake, how we individualize our prayers. I pray for the nations. We've got All Nations Sunday coming up, right? So I
Sure.
pray for the nations, but I have a heart, oh my goodness, for a couple of places that, and so I tend to give myself more to specific. I can't find my word, but to a specific location, because I want my prayers to be effective in that way. I am praying for this, for all who are interested in this, whether it's trendy or not. I am praying that, and I just really am echoing you, I am praying that the God calling that is happening to you, all who are even looking at this, or all who are going to even be studying all of the materials that is being made available to you, I am praying that the risk becomes worth it.
Absolutely.
Because it is a risk. And you don't know from the beginning, you don't know that it's going to be worth it. All you see is what everybody else is putting into it, and it's hours of time, preparation, prayer, heartache, but it's so worth the risk. And that's where I want my prayers to be effective, that somebody out there is willing to risk a lot to be able to step into this particular ministry. It is red hot.
Yes.
There's not a greater ministry out there. I know we're not supposed to compare, but there's not a greater ministry, and I personally feel like for absolutely the world, it is for the world, not just the United States of America. It is the last great push for revival, and where we're going to see its effectiveness the most in this area. I just believe this. So we're just about finished with our time allowed right here, right now. Is there anything that you just are dying to say that I didn't give a chance for you to be able to say?
Yes, I just want to say this: radical mercy and grace. Those are two things that I have encountered and begun to learn how to extend in recovery ministry. Recovery ministry is inoperable without those two principles. In my own life, I stole from everyone who turned their back on me for any amount of time. I burned literally every bridge that I walked across in my own addiction. And so when I got sober, looking back at the way that I lived, I didn't even have mercy and grace toward me. I mean, I wanted somebody else to give it to me, but that behavior made me disgusted. And then after getting sober, and coming to live for God and Him cleaning me up and all of that good stuff, that behavior in other people began to annoy me too. But what God taught me in showing me all of the ways that His mercy had kept me over the years, and His grace had formed me from just a willing person going, okay, God, I do whatever it is that you want to do. It taught me that exactly what it took for me to recover and for me to grow is exactly what I'm called to then extend to other people. And it's not this, Sister Mick said it, this ministry doesn't look like other ministries. It's not going to look like other ministries. It's going to be messy, and there are going to be people with some real problems to deal with. And the only way that anybody ever gets past those kind of problems is radical mercy and grace. And it is our calling in recovery ministry to introduce people to that.
And so, with you saying that, I also want to say how thankful I am to the NAM world who has given a heart to this ministry and effectively, I could say more than just a heart. They're doing something with this ministry to make it available for anyone who has an interest for it or who definitely has the desire for it. And this is not where it ends. There are labs that are available. There are conventions that are available. not just resources. There are places that you can go where that we can rub shoulders with each other, and where that we can talk these things through. It's imperative. I think it's imperative to do more than just paperwork. I think it's imperative to sit down with people like Blake and who have been on the journey, which is what we talked about at the very beginning of this, how relative it is for you to be able to talk with people like Blake, like myself, eye to eye, and catch each other's heartbeat and passion. And so thanks to NAM for making it available for us to share, to be able to tell you about different things that are coming up. We can talk more about that at another time, or you can get on websites and so on and find that out. But to be relevant for right now, what you can do is push a button or something. What is it that they can do?
I'm glad that you brought that up. Scan the QR code is what they can do. But I'm glad that you brought that up about NAM, and thanks to our NAM department, North American Missions Department. Because networking is so important.
Yes, it is.
Just as we're well able to accomplish more within this organization than by ourselves, recovery ministry works the same way. We're thankful and blessed to be connected with recovery ministries all over the nation and even in Canada. But even here in our district, there are several other recovery ministries that we've been able to help and have been able to help us, and it's been a tremendous blessing.
Right.
And so, yeah, we understand that there are a lot of people that are going to watch this that your primary concern is you want to know nuts and bolts, and we have a landing page, and it contains all that stuff that we mentioned earlier, and there will be a QR code, maybe the fourth time now, but this is definitely where you're going to go to read about some of the ins and outs and get some ideas.
Yeah.
But please prayerfully seek inspiration, and don't be afraid to do something different than what you read on those pages, or what you've seen us do or another effective recovery ministry do. And please, if you have more questions than what we're able to answer for you, reach out to the North American Missions Department. We do a training here every fall. There is another recovery conference that I went to earlier this spring that was a wonderful recovery conference, and these are things that the North American Missions Department can put you in touch with. And I thank you all for your time.
Yeah. God bless.